Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and other radio stations. I'm Relika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 24th, 2018. At this time, I invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Leona Romeo Marlin, to address you. Prime Minister.
Good morning to my colleagues, good morning to the media, good morning St. Martin. On Thursday, October 25th, 2018, St. Martin, with the support of the European delegation in Guyana and the European Commission Directorate General of Development Cooperation, will be hosting a Caribbean Overseas Countries and Territories Resilience Summit 2018 with as theme Unite, Prepare, Adapt. The summit will focus on three subtopics: Unite, Prepare, Adapt, which create a progressive theme for the event, each topic building on the next to come to a potential solution. Some of the featured keynote speakers and panelists include the Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, Mr. Ronald Jackson, the CEO of the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Investment Facility, CRIF, Mr. Isaac Anthony, Dr. Kenrick Leslie of the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, and many more too numerous to mention. The OCT Resilience Summit will conclude with the signing of the financing agreement for the 11th EDF Caribbean Regional Program on Resilience, Sustainable Energy, and Marine Biodiversity. During my recent working visit to Europe, I visited Amsterdam and The Hague, where I met representatives of VNG International and thank them for their continued assistance and service being given to St. Martin. The VNG International has contributed positively to St. Martin since the passing of Hurricane Irma, with programs that support our ESF groups and the Ministry of FROMI. I look forward to a continued close working relationship with VNG and VNG International that will be beneficial to the overall improvement of the civil service of St. Martin. While in Europe, I also visited the cities of Eindhoven and Estonia to research and observe how e-government processes can improve the overall public services that are delivered by the government of St. Martin. This mission forms part of the strategic objective to improve public services, and it's one of the key priorities of the governing program 2018-2022, building a sustainable St. Martin of the current governing coalition. Some of the key points addressed during the visit included how citizens can speedily access online government services through digitizing of manual processes that are currently being offered at physical locations. And lastly, in recent days, I have been receiving multiple requests to address the ongoing situation of my colleagues, ministers, specifically Minister Stuart Johnson, Minister Miklos Gitterson, and Minister Cornelius de Wever. Through this medium, I would like to let the public know that before any of us can rush to any judgment, we must let the legal process run its course. These are my updates for today. I await the questioning when ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Wycliffe Smith, to address you. Minister Smith.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roach. Greetings to all gathered here this morning, Madam Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, the Department of Communications, members of the press, as well as those listening and viewing by radio, television, or social media. Good morning, Sualiga. I'd like to share with you some information from the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport. First of all, from the Department of Education, some school visits that took place this week. The Martin Luther King Junior School and the Prince Willem Alexander School. I had the privilege of visiting them early this week. This week I also was there, and I was asked at the Prince Willem Alexander School to give a short address and participate in their assembly. And their theme for this month was compassion. So I shared with the kids a little about compassion. I had the honor to also be taken to the various classrooms and met with some teachers and with the school managers. And despite the challenges, they remained motivated and focused on their tasks of delivering quality education for our children. For this, I commend the school managers, the administrators, and wish them all the best. Spelling Bee finals. On Sunday last, the semi-final round of the 2018 Scotiabank Spelling Bee competition took place, and it was fierce. From the 10 participants, 5 have advanced to the finals. 3 of the finalists are from St. Martin schools, and to be exact, one from the John A. Gums campus of the MAC, one from the Ruby La Vega Primary School, and one finalist from the Seventh-day Adventist School. And the other 2 students are from schools in Anguilla. The finals will be held at the Bel Air Community Center this Sunday, October 28th. The finals will start promptly at 1 o'clock, and I'm encouraging all to come out to support and cheer the finalists on. From the Department of Culture, UNESCO Cultural Heritage Meeting. The Kingston UNESCO Cluster Office and the Suriname National Commission for UNESCO extended an invitation to St. Martin to participate in a joint country consultative meeting on intangible cultural heritage, which will take place in Suriname from October the 30th to November the 2nd, 2018. This is the 3rd phase of the project, called Strengthening the Capacities of Suriname and Dutch Caribbean Islands for the Implementation of the Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage. UNESCO will cover all the expenses for the 3 participants from St. Martin. Representing St. Martin will be Clara Reis, head of the Department of Culture, and Shireen Alambi Duncan, also from the Department of Culture. And also representing St. Martin will be Marcelia Henry, Secretary General for UNESCO in St. Martin. The meeting is being planned to establish a discussion platform for matters relating to intangible cultural heritage, disaster risk preparedness and response, the safeguarding of intangible cultural heritage through formal and non-formal education, and in addition to identifying needs and the way forward for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage in all countries. St. Martin will also update the countries on the progress made with the finalization of its intangible cultural heritage inventory, which is being compiled by the St. Martin National Commission for UNESCO and the Culture Department of St. Martin. From the Department of Sports, Taekwondo team heading to the U.S. for tournament. The athletes from the King Yen Taekwondo School, led by Grandmaster Theo Leo, leave the island today for the 2018 USA International Martial Arts Festival in Orlando. The team, ranging in age from age 6 to 18 years, will compete against teams from several countries across the region. The opening of the inter-school baseball and softball tournaments. I had the honor of throwing the first pitch as the St. Martin Little League started the new RBC School baseball and softball tournaments at the Little League ballpark on Saturday. I encourage you to go out and show them your support. Our youth are so talented, you may be watching a sport icon in the making. From the Department of Youth, donations to afternoon school programs. Last Friday, the Department of Youth, in collaboration with UNICEF Netherlands, hosted a presentation ceremony to mark the culmination of their after-school program mapping and support activity. Afternoon school programs are instrumental to bridging the gap between teacher and parental supervision by facilitating the development of sporting activities, allowing more time for the expression of the creative arts, coordinating field trips, and building character and self-esteem in our youth. In the governing program 2018-2022, it is outlined that the eradication of poverty and inequality requires us to improve the financial welfare of the community by expanding the afternoon school programs. At this time, our partnership with UNICEF Netherlands has made this donation possible. The ceremony also served as a symbolic presentation to 14 deserving after-school programs. The items presented will replenish the inventory of arts and crafts materials, books, sports equipment, games, toys, and musical equipment which these organizations lost during the passage of Hurricane Irma in September 2017. Hurricane Irma brought much distress, but in its wake, we as Sualigans have found that we are overcoming together. In closing, a few congratulatory remarks. Allow me to extend my congratulations to two young St. Martiners, Makeda Schillingford and Anderson Flanders. Makeda, a past member of the St. Martin Youth Parliament, is now studying in Texas, where she has been elected as the parliamentarian for Region 2 of the Texas Junior College Student Government Association. Anderson Flanders is studying in Connecticut, and his artwork has been selected to be part of the American Arts Professional League 90th Grand National Juried Exhibition in New York City in November. We are proud of these young people who are carrying the St. Martin brand far and wide. Congratulations to both of you, Makeda and Anderson, and also to your families. Thank you for watching and for listening, and I'll be available for any relevant questions if you may have them. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you, Minister Smith, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, the Honorable Miklos Hitterson, to address you. Minister Hitterson.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning, Prime Minister, fellow ministers, press, and audience members viewing and listening. The road paving, road patching program for 2018 continues, and on Monday, there was a massive traffic delay due to the road patching project being carried out in the Simpson Bay and Coal Bay areas. The project was temporarily paused due to heavy traffic delays being experienced by road users. The decision to have the majority of the work done during the day is a financial one, as working overnight and on the weekends costs considerably more money. However, it is clear that a reassessment needed to happen as the traffic delays of mainly Monday, but also within the last few weeks, has had a very negative impact on the community. The matter was placed for further discussion at yesterday's Council of Ministers meeting, where my fellow ministers backed the decision to have the remainder of this road completed in the overnight and early morning hours. I would like to use this platform to apologize to the community at large for the disorder caused on Monday. Though it was anticipated that there would be an interruption to the regular traffic flow, I do not think anyone foresaw what ended up happening. Lack of communication and proper reporting are internal issues noted from the experience and will be resolved. Additionally, moving forward, we will do a better job of informing the community of scheduled work. Moving on, later on today there will be a groundbreaking ceremony for the 10th EDF project scheduled to take place in Dutch Quarter. This extensive project will consist of a few components, namely the expansion of the sewer network, including home connections and connections to the main sewer line, the upgrading of the side roads and improvement of the overall drainage system in Dutch Quarter, improvement of the public street lighting and related works for the entire district, and the construction of pedestrian sidewalks. The first phase of this development project will focus on what we call the Dutch Quarter Sewage Project, where we will seek to connect over 500 homes to the main sewer line. On St. Martin, the lack of sufficient sewage infrastructure has become a critical issue, which we have attempted to address within the 2018 to 2022 governing program for St. Martin. The construction of a proper sewage network, investing in our infrastructure, and improving safety and facilities resources are all fulfilled in this project. The fact that we have found a way to involve the young unemployed men and heavy equipment owners of the community is also something to be applauded. The people of Dutch Quarter will be heavily involved in the rebuilding and betterment of their community. This is a stipulation that I intend to implement more when hiring contractors for large projects such as these. That we go into the neighborhoods and look for talent there first. That should be our main objective. During this construction time, the excavated areas will be closed off to traffic and pedestrians. A number of traffic signs will be placed at key locations to inform the public of the works and any detours that may be established. During traffic peak hours, extra personnel will be put in place to help direct the traffic during work or night. During day or night, sorry. This concludes my press briefing for today. Thank you very much. I will have to leave immediately, so I would ask the press if you have any questions to please direct it to the cabinet, and we will have them answered as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Heatherson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Stuart Johnson, to address you. Minister Johnson.
Fellow colleagues in the Council of Ministers, members of the media, people of St. Martin, good morning. The Princess Juliana International Airport has indicated that it will not be able to meet its original schedule of November 30th for shifting its arrival and departure operation into the main terminal building. This, as you know, has been something that my ministry has consistently been monitoring based on its importance to the destination and to the economic revitalization of our country. It is important that the airport reaches a stage in the construction and the reconstruction that allows it to handle larger arrival numbers as the busiest part of our season begins. The unfortunate setback has my attention as the shareholder representative. Thus, I will be visiting the airport to get a clear understanding of what is being done to ensure that the terminal building comes online. The work to ensure and to secure the roof of the airport was very important, as the mold remediation, which I'm happy to report, is now finalized and ready. as this is indeed very important for the airport's reconstruction. The challenges that lie ahead will be faced with the common understanding of the important role the airport must play if we're going to get the hotels and businesses in general back online. We are looking forward to welcoming additional flights for the season, and the airport's reconstruction must be aligned with the increase in visitor arrival. Just a few minutes ago, I met with the U.S. marketing team for St. Martin, MMGY Global Marketing Firm. The director and his team arrived on the island yesterday on a schedule to visit several hotels to get first-hand updates of the progress that has been made. Already, in their first year of working with the St. Martin Tourism Bureau, they have proven to be an innovative group. They have assured me that with the reduced rates for hotel stays at present, and the many new activities that are being added to the destination is making St. Martin an easy sell for visitors around the world and especially in the United States. St. Martin continues to be featured in development magazines as the destination that has a series of major construction-related developments. This means a great deal in terms of showing the rest of the world that we're not just cleaning up and going back to business as usual, but we are in fact taking our product and expanding on what we already had. The message that St. Martin is open for business continues to be the main focuses as we work to bring back visitors to St. Martin. I want to mention at this stage, there is still quite a lot of work to do where cleaning is concerned. We are telling the world that we're open for business, but are we doing enough to ensure that we are and look ready? When I drive along the Walter Nisbet Road, there are still some eyesores that I can see, which means that visitors to our island can see them as well. There needs to be a proper standard of construction for boots that is presentable but maintains the Caribbean flair. I will be working with my colleague minister and the Ministry of Rummy to see the demolition of the airplane that once housed the former Leckerbeck restaurant. Unfortunately, that structure is no longer safe, and it has to be removed so it does not continue to be an eyesore in the eyes of our visitors and residents alike. Lastly, I join Rotarians around the world as a member of the Rotary Club Sunset in recognizing World Polio Day. The mass vaccination of children around the world is one of the ways that Rotary organizations continue to do their part to eradicate polio. I join all Rotary members and friends in honoring those who do their part to eradicate polio. At this time now, I look forward to any questions from the press.
Thank you, Minister Johnson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Cornelius De Weaver, to address you. Minister De Weaver.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moj. Fellow colleague ministers, thank you. I need to address the issue of Mr. Fernando Clark, who was summoned to retract his factually incorrect, slanderous, and defamatory remarks about my person. And briefly put, he spoke about sexual harassment allegedly leading to his dismissal. His remarks were clearly geared at the Minister of Justice, which function was held by my person during his dismissal. In reaction to my summons, and foremost, retract his statements, and secondly, to confirm in writing that he would refrain from making further incorrect, slanderous, and defamatory statements, Mr. Clark informed my lawyer yesterday that he had no proof, no evidence, and no witnesses to substantiate what he claimed. And therefore, he have decided to desist from making future statements publicly or otherwise. He also indicated that he never mentioned my name or the client's name or any other name for that matter. And he also therefore thinks that there's no responsibility for any monetary losses resulting from this matter. Mr. Clark hereby complied with the second part of my summons, which was to refrain and confirm in writing that he would refrain from making further publications or making any other remarks in this matter. His reaction, however, does not entail a retraction, and I will consequently pursue this matter in court. and I will see him there. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, for your opening remarks. If you have just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing. We now move on to the question and answer session. Andrew Dick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Good morning to the ministers. Minister DeWeaver, concerning Mr. Clark accusation. So are you saying that as far as the dismissal of Mr. Clark, what exactly was the reason for his dismissal then?
The same indiscretion or lack of remorse that Mr. Clark is displaying now is the same reason he was dismissed. Secondly, I would expect a lot more from the media houses as well as radio programs who have a responsibility to inform the public truthfully and honestly and not just take any press release and run with it.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Stephen Cirillan of PJ82 Radio, you have the floor.
Prime Minister, Ministers, good morning. My question is for the Minister of TIAT. You mentioned that there has been a delay in the finishing of the terminal building. This comes at a time that we expected more flights to St. Martin. KLM recently announced that they were also increasing flights to St. Martin during the winter season. How is that now announcement is expected to negatively impact the arrival of flights to St. Martin?
Thank you, Stephen, for your question. Of course, those flights that have already indicated the additional airlift to the destination would not be directly affected. Of course, we're looking at the accommodation of more persons within the airport facility, the terminal, of course, being of paramount importance to have those pavilions come down and for persons to, especially passengers and employees alike, be able to be back into the terminal itself for the phase one. So the additional flights from American Airlines, from KLM and other airlines that have indicated the additional airlift have not been and will not be affected, but it's just the accommodations in general have been delayed. So all flights are still on schedule as expected.
Thank you, Minister Johnson. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and to all our ministers. To Minister Smith, last week you have had a meeting with the St. Martin Project Relief, which is American base in collaboration with St. Martin. Last week, the St. Martin Project Relief Foundation. It's a foundation that helps in the event of disaster. So they have been motivated to come on stream in the event of any more natural disaster where they will help. And I understand that they had a meeting with you last week. So can you comment on the meeting? How did you endorse such a foundation? Because they are ready to help in the event of disaster, and which already started. I spoke with them. They told me they had a meeting with you last Wednesday.
No, I don't recall having a meeting with this organization last week. In fact, no, I did not have a meeting with them last week.
Thank you, Minister Smith. We now move on to the second round of questions. Andrew Dick, you have the floor.
Minister Johnson, concerning the opposition members, we have Sylvia Jacobs today, Bryson. Sylvia Jacobs was on Monday, today was Bryson. They are asking for accountability from you. Your response?
Thank you, Andrew, for your question. And of course, Andrew, as I indicated last week, the investigation in which I filed on Monday is ongoing, so I'm not in liberty really to answer in that regard. You know, the opposition has their role to play, and of course I have my role to play, which is to represent the people of St. Martin and continue to assist in governing this country. There is simply no time for the response in Facebook status updates, Twitter feeds, or whatever else. There's a country to run. I'm committed and will continue to run the country that I took the oath of doing since June the 25th. For the rest, I leave it up to the investigation, and I look forward to the people of St. Martin supporting that government is indeed functioning and that continued work for St. Martin is of paramount importance.
Minister De Weaver.
I'd like to add to that as well, because I think it's unfortunate that some of them, MPs and others, have given into what's called fake news. And I believe that we need to understand the ramifications of these, because not only locally, but also regionally and internationally, and those who engage in it will be held accountable.
Thank you, Minister De Weaver. Stephen Cerulean, you have the floor.
Minister of ECYS, I think it was 2 weeks ago you mentioned that the Friendside is responsible for organizing the St. Martin Day activities. My question to you today is, what sort of collaboration is there coming from the Department of Culture in realizing those activities as have been said by the organizers on the Friendside?
Thank you for your question. Normally, when the celebrations are held on either side, the side on which the celebrations are held is fully responsible, and the other side is partly invited as a guest. I know from the Department of Culture that preparations have started for the organization of St. Martin's Day on November the 11th, and our Department of Culture is waiting for further information from the department on the French side.
Thank you, Minister Smith. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Minister De Weaver, a lot of time, let me say the statement before I ask the question. A lot of time when people doing great things, you don't normally hear great things. But this is not business as usual. Being a minister is a very serious business. And people must appreciate, minister, when people share, air, fake news, a news to destroy one character, can they be arrested almost on the spot? Can they be arrested for spreading negative and false information about ministers? Because you've been hearing a lot of negative, but there's a lot of positive going on, and there's no emphasis on the positive. And as the Justice Minister, I believe you're taking this very serious, that person who continue in these kind of conversation, they can be arrested almost the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your question. First of all, this is what I believe is a sad day in general for journalists who call, or reporters who call themselves journalists, because this is anything further from the truth of what true journalism is. I believe that justice will take its course, whether they can or cannot be arrested. In this country, I'm not familiar with it being that they can be arrested. Maybe in other countries they can be, but in this country, that's not the case. So I will go through the legal process to ensure that justice is served, and let it serve an example to others who feel they can do the same, but also to the media, who has a strong role to play in whatever message comes out to the public. Because if they do not do their due diligence, and if they do not report honestly, fairly, and with some accountability, then I think they should be held accountable as well.
Because you have advanced from a doctor to Justice Minister, but the people don't see how the ministers, all of the ministers, who knows them, they can see that they have been advanced. So why there is no emphasis on the advancement of the ministers?
You know, in life, you don't have to worry about those things. Everything will come to pass in its own time. Degrees don't mean anything. I think a person's name is sometimes much more important than any kind of degree that you have. I received a clean name from my father. I like to pass that on to my son, and I'm not going to allow anyone or any media house to tarnish my name. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Mr. Brown, please note that was your third question. We now move on to the final round of questions. Andrew Dick, you have the floor.
Minister DeWeaver, concerning the police, the chief of police did ask for the Dutch police officers to stay on. Was a official request sent to Holland for them to stay on until the force is strong?
We have an agreement that the Dutch assistance will stay on until 2019. Should the St. Martin decide, I'm not sure exactly which month in 2019, I'll get back to you on that one, but should St. Martin decide to move on to 2020 with the Dutch assistance, then we would be financially responsible for that, and that decision has not been taken as yet.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Stephen Cerulean, you have the final question.
Prime Minister, the summit, which is set for tomorrow, Thursday, how many persons overall will be here for this summit, and where exactly will this take place?
Thank you, Stephen Cerulean. The summit will be held at the Bel Air Community Center. If I can recall, we have a guest list of about 85 persons. And yeah, I think it's about 85 persons. Could be a little bit more, but if I can recall from the last count, it was about 85 persons.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 24th, 2018.